Yeah, dude. I mean,
Uh-oh.
how do you go to a gym like 5 miles away from another one owned by the same company?
Oh.
And they're like,
you're talking about our predicament today.
Yeah, they're like, no, gotta have masks, yada yada yada. Okay, I get it. Here's what we're gonna hear. They're a private company. They can do whatever they want. Yes, I know that. The question is, based on what their consumers want, would they make that decision if it wasn't involuntarily forced on them? Now, again, we can get into
counting
but they
lines.
Would be irresponsible if they did that and yada yada. Okay, I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into COVID will kill 50,000, million times more people if we let them do that. All I'm saying is, we're like starting an episode and we're like we haven't even started the episode. Anyway, point is,
you say we a lot. Unfortunately.
Okay.
I didn't have the fucking wheel on that one. You were just kind of all aboard, motherfucker.
Yes, I'm saying would LA Fitness, in the absence of being forced to make their consumers do that? Oh yeah, I shouldn't say. Whatever. They're big. They can handle it, and this really happened. So whatever. They're doing what they're forced to do. Not.
Are you gonna welcome them to our podcast?
Yeah,
probably will.
Yeah, I mean, if they really listen to what I'm saying here, I'm actually on their side, because I wonder how many memberships they've lost from being shut down. So really, they would probably like to be open more. Oh, this isn't even the episode though. That's the problem.
Okay,
that's what I was concerned about. This started out as like intro banter that turned into like.
Why'd you do that?
Got really serious quick.
I'm so confused and scared and alone right now. I don't.
I do have to finish it because they've been waiting for like.
You're holding in a sneeze right now. You got to let it out. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, not getting into. All I'm saying is I'm critiquing the thing because what I value the least in that interaction between government and gyms is,
or just society in general.
Gyms aren't getting to do the things that are supposed to guide their decisions, which is serving their customer. That's the whole value of capitalism. That's why you have 40,000 different types of shoes at 100,000 different price points, and you have choice because people are trying to earn your dollar. They're trying to get you to give it to them voluntarily. Government steps in and says, no. This business decision you would have made to make your clients happy, you can't do that. We're making it illegal. We'll come in and we'll shut you down and throw you in a cage if you try to disobey. I'm going to critique that. So I'm not critiquing it saying, LA Fitness, you're terrible for making me wear a mask. I'm saying LA Fitness is being forced to do something that's harming them and by extension harming their consumers because government has no play in the whole interaction. They don't care. Who cares? They're not losing money. They're still going to be able to, make you line up at the tax window next year and take your money.
They're setting rules arbitrarily to.
Yeah. So that's what I'm mad about on that deal. But that's not even what we're talking about today.
Jesus.
Should
we sure you don't want to talk about that? We spent about 20
That was only 3
minutes.
minutes of banter. Come on.
Fuck.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WMDpodcast.com /4 because we want you to come to the website, not just from your favorite podcast app. We want you to listen to it in both and hopefully share with friends and family. We want you to come and engage with us on the website. So if you want to find and engage in the comment section on this episode, go to WMDpodcast.com /4 and jump in. Mix it up with us and all the rest of the memes. Today's episode is
Early Master.
This whole glib response that you get about money is more important than safety when it comes to COVID, right? Like you just want to get a haircut and you don't care if grandma dies, or you care about the stock market more than you care about, people being healthy.
And it's your fault.
So like where does this come from? And what do we think about this being so prevalent in society? This kind of like, I'll shout you down if you don't, adopt the decisions that my political heroes have adopted versus yours. What do you got on that?
Well, I think that we should go back and begin at the beginning. When this first popped at the top of this esophagus, this is going to be the new Black Plague. It was going to kill, I think the first predictions were somewhere between 1 and 2 million people in the United States.
Yeah, I want to see the highest number I saw was like 2.5.
2.5 million, yeah.
I think.
I was being a little cautious.
Dire projections, yeah.
Right, so, 2 million people, that's a lot of our population. Now, what it turned out to be.
But David, because you're only cared about 2.5, does that mean you don't care about the 100,000 that really have died?
Well, then there's the emotional appeal.
You hating person of other people's persons.
I just love death and destruction.
Anyway, I didn't want to sidetrack you too much, but yes, that's the level of this objection.
This didn't turn out to be what it was. Is it still dangerous? Is it still deadly? Is it still tragic for everybody that died in it? Of course, obviously.
Why? Obviously. I don't know. That's kind of what I want to get to in this episode. Why? Obviously.
If they did die from COVID,
we don't need to grant them a moral high ground just because they've claimed it.
When they died of heart disease, when they died of cancer, when they died of all these
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Would you fucking jeez? The goddamn wheeze over here.
You're still saying it.
Well, I was going to let you finish your milkshake over there, but you seemed like you got
Why do they care or need to know that I'm drinking a milkshake?
They should know. Because they should know their host is
It's a protein shake, David.
Goddamn degenerate.
You ain't getting swole on your own.
You getting all them gains? Mm-hmm. You sucking back on them gains, son?
Bro, I lost like 15 pounds in coronavirus land.
Well, you did the exact opposite of everyone else.
Yeah.
Why do you think I gained 10?
Oh, yeah, that's probably going to get us some hate mail.
But
anyway, so this all stemmed from a meme. It is the name of the show, after all, right? We intend to absolutely destroy. So, not even going to dignify the page I saw this on with a shout out here, or telling you where it came from.
Free publicity.
But this is another one of those quintessential the left can't meme things, because I'm going to read this thing verbatim, and like that's not what me. Anyway, I don't feel like I need to explain it. Here's the meme, start to finish, and I quote.
Baffling.
So, some restrictions got relaxed today. Just remember, the virus did not just magically disappear, all caps. Your immune system hasn't changed. There is no cure. There is no vaccine. The only thing that changed is that powerful lobbies and business and economic pressures have out-lobbied public health science and concerns for collective death. Stay safe, all caps. Exclamation point.
How did they get all...
That's the meme.
How did they get all
sorry,
that?
end quote. After the exclamation point, end quote. That's the meme. And
there's
a picture of some like poorly animated doctor like standing there with his arms crossed, like literally sneering down his nose at you.
How'd they get all that sass in the text?
Yeah. Oh. Well, don't they say like 70% of communication is nonverbal?
My fingers over here, or clapping my hands.
So we're not trying to go too crazy with this episode. We're just gonna have to go top to bottom and maybe gloss over some more than others.
Let's start with the first sentence.
So some restrictions just got relaxed today. Just remember. I mean, that's relatively innocuous.
Well, hold on.
I don't know what restrictions they're referring to, because a lot of states are going in stages. So is it this stage?
I'm going to remind you, this is the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Yeah.
So restrictions. Restrictions in the freed land of the brave. Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I was going to skip over that one until you brought it up. Props to you, sir.
Love
So there's even some meme in society, cultural thing to destroy on that.
I'm not even warmed up yet. This is just my practice.
You're killing. All right, next sentence, all caps. The virus did not just magically disappear today. Okay, let's start right there.
You mean
by the way, disappear is spelled DISSAPEAR.
If you're gonna be shitty, you better be fucking accurate.
I mean, do we sound petty? But come on. This person seems to be
destroying a meme. We better
this
go in
person
every
seems
angle.
to be very educated and intellectual and very smart.
Easy.
They know it all.
Let's not make any bold assumptions.
Anyway, the virus did not just magically disappear. Okay, start right there. Right there, red flag. This person is not a serious person. You don't need to listen to because again, and I forget who said it, but the phrase that I always come back to is, "With a reasonable man, I will reason. With an unreasonable man, I will ignore, disagree, I will give no quarter." It's something like that. It's like, why would you even bother talking to a man or woman? Doesn't matter. Gender is irrelevant. You should. Why would I talk to a person that is just going to, emotionally yell until they win? It's literally like playing chess with a pigeon. You can play by all the rules, but at the end of the game,
holy fuck,
the pigeon is just going to walk around the chessboard, knock over all the pieces, shit on it, and walk and strut around like it won. So again, somebody who's coming with that kind of what frame? What?
Sidebar. It sounds like you played chess against a pigeon. Did you play chess against a pigeon, dude?
Listen, whether I won or not is irrelevant. Okay.
I mean, if the pigeon knows how to play, he's got to have some skill.
I mean,
he's not your ordinary pigeon.
Like Stanford, broke out of the cage.
He probably migrated down here from New York because
ever.
they're always playing in Central Park.
Always smoking.
So this pigeon was like on his game.
Yeah,
like sitting there every day.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay, so sorry.
So again, what I'm saying, you would disregard right here. I never got to the logical fallacy. A straw man, huge straw man. You're saying that just because you disagree with my policy conclusions, and again, we can say that COVID is what it is. It has the death rate, all the statistics, whatever statistics you want to believe, to either be scared or not scared. The point is that nobody on either side is even remotely asserting that the virus just magically disappeared. And again, I can get it. Well, they're just using the hyperbole to get your point across. That it's a very useful rhetorical tactic. I get it, but when you listen to some of the things that are said to people who say very moderate things, right? So when the Stanford professors came out with the first antibody study and said, listen, if this thing comes back with X, level of positive test for the antibody, that means this thing was 10, 15, 20, up to 40 times more prevalent in society than when we previously thought. And if it's been that prevalent in society for that long and we never got the overwhelming of the hospitals, which was always supposed to be the number one concern,
now
right?
We're getting that.
Right. Flatten the curve.
We're getting that.
Flatten the curve. Mm-hmm. We'll see if we did. That's what they said last time. They built, a $17 million hospital in Houston to take overflow patients that never saw one. Right. So what I'm saying, it's happened in different regions to varying different degrees.
To ship them over to, and so on and so forth.
The point is, we can agree on all of those facts and still say yes, but that does not justify putting 40 million people out of work and all of the attendant things that come with that. Again, plenty of social science study on this.
Unintended consequences.
Higher suicide rate, higher substance abuse rate, higher domestic violence rate, higher,
foreclosures on houses too, right?
Those are the big, very strong societal problems that you want to limit as much as possible. And these policies are the ones that are supposed to save lives, right? The ones that value, and this gets into the next part, the ones that value lives over dollars, right? They're supposed to have the moral high ground. And all I'm saying is don't give it to them. They've just claimed the moral high ground to be able to dictate your life to you, but that doesn't mean they're entitled to it or that you're not entitled to say, well, do you really belong up there? I mean, have you considered the outcomes of your own policies on the toll it's taking on human life? When you have the UN or UNICEF or whatever issuing that report that hundreds of millions, maybe it's not hundreds, but it's in the tens of millions of children will fall into and out of, they just recently got out of extreme poverty. They're now going to fall back into extreme poverty because of the disruption to the social economic chain. So what I'm saying is there's trade-offs. The decisions we make are going to cost lives. You can shut down the economy and say, I'm saving lives from coronavirus, or you can not shut down the economy and say, I'm keeping 40 million people employed and, I'm keeping the greatest economic, engine that human beings have ever devised that has pulled more people globally out of extreme poverty in the last 30 to 40 years than all of human history up to that point. I mean, those are hard empirical facts that somebody can be like, well, maybe that's a good way to go. Or maybe when we're considering shutting down the whole economy and the whole world, maybe we consider the impact that it has on people's lives that don't have the same circumstances that we have. Isn't that what we're told by the left? We need to consider other people's lives?
I thought we were supposed to be...
Look in the mirror.
I thought we were really concerned with people's feelings on the left, too. But during this whole thing, what have they been thinking? What have they been... Thank you, such and such. And what were their jobs considered? Essential. So, let's backtrack this a little bit. So, if all these essential workers are going and doing their good job, and, thank you to all of them that did that, nurses, people in the grocery stores, Amazon, making sure that we get our stuff. But what does that say to the other people that were locked in homes and got furloughed and that's saying, like...
I think I see where you're going with this.
That's saying, like, hey, you're pretty fucking unessential. And then you're sitting there going, well, I was just feeling pretty low myself. Was wondering how I was going to be able to pay the rent this month. And you're like, we don't really fucking need you. So if you want to just do the right thing and save grandma by, Can I just say it again? You're unessential. Okay.
Well, that's dark. Yeah, but there's a lot of truth in that.
I think we're only halfway through that too, by the way.
Yeah, I know. We said some topics we were going to glaze. I think we could have glazed over straw man a little quicker than that. But yes,
straw man.
No, total straw man. Total nail on the head. In exchange for this, the policies that have been adopted have been top-down control. If it's not one man in D.C., making decisions for 320 million lives, which, oh, by the way, is, again, if I'm a person on the left, right? That guy is literally Hitler. However, I'm so scared of coronavirus, I want him to enact the Defense Protection Act, or use it, the authority he has under it, and I want him to control vast swaths of the economy. I just want him to take control of private business all over the country and say, private business X, you're making A, private business Y, you're making B, and Z, C. But on down the line.
Stop being so cynical, all right?
Literally, Hitler has that much power? I don't think that I want that.
On
their own terms.
When the government takes control of things during a time of crisis, they always hold it with a responsible amount of time and then gladly give it back to the people to run right afterwards. Right when it's done. Yes. Right when all is safe. Right when you press the all is clear. They always give you back the freedoms and the powers that you had.
Well, I'm just going to drop this little bookmark, ironically, because I'm referring to a book for any of the nerdier in the fan base out there. I'm going to look up the title here in a second, but the author is Bob Higgs. And he goes through the historical record of showing how government power ratchets and how in this instance it increases its power to a level that the people would never agree with under different circumstances. And then, the left goes, well, okay, yeah, if the circumstances are everybody's going to die from coronavirus, I'm okay with it. Okay, whatever. Okay. All I'm saying is I can disagree with you on that point without being this evil person. Anyway, yes, so that's basically what we're getting at, is maybe you don't want people that can fill that office with the one that you hate so much now that have that much power, because the ratchet goes up. If if you've ever used a ratchet in your life, the whole point of the ratchet is so that it doesn't go back to the spot that it just came from.
It's a little engineering term there for you, a little craftsmanship, if you will.
So let's take the next three because we are way too in depth on each one of these points, and we are not even halfway through this.
I want to kick this thing
ridiculous meme. So we're going to just lump the 3 bullet points together. Okay, so after the virus did not magically disappear, the 3 bullet points are: your immune system hasn't changed, there is no cure, there is no vaccine.
You will die alone. Is that on there?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I put that in the subscript.
Okay, again, your immune system constantly changes. I mean, just as a matter of basic, virology, like that's you pick up things that you either touch or whatever. Again, this isn't saying we should run around like babies, sticking everything in our mouths that we can find. But the point is, like, yeah, your immune system changes.
That'll actually end you up in jail more often than not. Just sticking random things in your mouth. I wouldn't recommend it. Might have done a nickel up in Juliet for doing that one.
Again, we'll gloss over that one because that's just stupid. Of course, your immune system changes. Of course, it adapts to the environment that you're in.
What were the other two?
That's why it's an immune. I mean.
They really
anyway,
researched this topic. They've got the facts.
We'll lump the next two together. There is no cure. There is no vaccine. Okay. This gets into the whole thing from the very beginning. It was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That became 4. That became 6. That became 8. Now we're like, what? So I've heard projections of 18 months, a year and a half of this. And again, maybe you can last 18 months. Good for you. There's tons who can't. There's tons of people who just lost, 40 million, in fact, who just lost their jobs that are worried about how they're going to feed their family and stuff because they've been deemed non-essential.
Those non-essential pieces of garbage.
So again, what was sold originally when everybody was like, okay, maybe this is a good idea, 2 weeks, whatever, we can handle that.
Hack 2 weeks.
Is now turning into 18 months. So why are you moving the goalposts? Why is it now no cure and vaccine? Is it because, the antibody studies are coming out showing a lot more prevalence which is, plummeting the death rate? 4% was what it was estimated to be. It's barely even 0.2 or 0. It's like 2 or 3 times as deadly as the flu.
All right.
2 or 3 times. Which again gives it a larger death rate than the flu, and that's not putting them on a 1-to-1 level.
But the point is, this isn't a 40% killer.
This isn't, what was it, measles or malaria? One of them was an outbreak during the Revolutionary War.
Oh, during the Revolutionary War?
Death rate at that time with that medicine was 33%. 1 in 3 people died who got it, and these fuckers fought a war in the middle of that.
Flu? That was World War I. That had a higher kill rate too. High kill rate.
Yeah, but people will say Spanish flu was a couple of years and all that kind of stuff. There's just longer time. They say coronavirus could be. Anyway, the point is the goalposts are shifting, and so when you say no cure, no vaccine, again, you're not a serious person because you can't even stick to your own. If fundamentally what we're doing is arguing about policy, and you start out with, this is simple negotiation too. You want to over-ask, on your price so you can get it for what you want. Same kind of thing. When you lead with, it's only going to be 2 weeks and everything will be fine, to could be as long as 18 months because we're no longer worried about the curve. We're waiting for a vaccine. Well, nobody said that in the beginning.
Let me partition this one into influenza doesn't have a fucking cure. We've known about influenza for a long time. The flu. This is the flu that we're talking. And again, we keep drawing similarities between these two because guess what? They are in the same family of virus. And then to tack on to that, yeah, we have a vaccine for the flu, but there's been years where we get the wrong strand, and then guess what? You didn't have a vaccine for the flu this year either, motherfucker. And do we shut down then? We fucked up the strand and it's a different strand this year, so everyone go back to your home. No, we didn't. So why are we treating this so differently? Again,
all they'll say is it's more virulent, it spreads faster, it does have a higher death rate. And again, all I'm saying is we don't even have to disagree with that.
It's just such a fucking...
On their own terms. for them to say 2 weeks, stretching it out to 18 months, and again, and trying to stand on that as if that's their like underlying strong policy to save lives. What I'm saying is that you can't move or you can't change the rules of the game mid-game that drastically and expect people not to come to your position with a bit of skepticism.
Correct.
And maybe if you consider that skepticism and talk to them on that level, maybe you might be convinced to their side. Maybe you might convince them back to yours, but they're not just evil people who, are just total misanthropes and you're just some angel because you have a policy disagreement.
Call back. Episode number 3, they just got their bullet points and they're going to work down. They're going to just stick with the narrative, whatever they're saying. And the right's not innocent on this shit too, because they've also come up with that. This is a hoax. This is just the left trying to tank the economy to get rid of Trump. Well, talk about fucking cutting your own nose off to spite your face. If you're trying to take over the country, you might want the economics to be, somewhat stable.
Yeah, you don't want to move into the burnt down house.
What do you? Oh no, they destroyed the country so they could take it over. Like, wait, say that back to yourself, just real quick. See how much.
I want to roll the rubble.
Oh, if I can't have it, nobody will. But I'll have it afterwards.
All right, let's get into this last paragraph, and I wish we wouldn't have gone so long on the other ones because this is the real deep stuff.
This is the coup de grace.
But who knows? Maybe this will hit home easily. Okay. All right. So after there's no cure, there's no vaccine. Last paragraph.
And kids die too.
The only thing that changed is that powerful lobbies and businesses and economic pressures have outlobbied public health science. Okay, there's that kind of subtle, play to the term the science. You don't agree with the science. The science is some dogmatic, monolithic thing of, like David said, bullet points. They just go down. They say, is this person saying the right things? Is this person saying wear the mask? And is this person saying don't take ibuprofen because it makes it worse? Oh no, like a couple months later, ibuprofen is now being studied as a cure for it. Is it one of those things where it's like
hydroxychloroquine might work, but now it doesn't. But now it does.
But now maybe it's political for why it doesn't, and we don't know.
Eggs are good for you. They're bad. Eggs are good. They're bad.
Who comes out on the World Health Organization comes out on a Monday and says, well, we may have overstated, the asymptomatic spread, which was like one of the 4 pillars that our entire thing stood on for why we needed to lock up healthy people because of asymptomatic spread.
But then
they didn't know they had it and they gave it to 100 people. The WHO comes out a couple weeks ago, and an interesting thing happened to me because I shared this on a Monday when the article came out, or Tuesday, whatever, it doesn't matter. I shared it and I said, WHO walking back, more stuff, surprise, surprise, this boy who cried wolf already. In terms of the severity of crime, not that it doesn't exist or it's a conspiracy, but just like it wasn't as severe as they thought, right? WHO comes out 2 days later, realizing how much foot and mouth it was, and says, well, we were just concerned that the wrong impression got out there that asymptomatic spread is no problem. We're just saying that, it's not as big as it was that we previously thought. Or whatever. Okay, that's still the point I'm trying to make. You changed your stance. It was asymptomatic spread is going to be the end of the human race to now not such a big deal. Anyway, I shared that the first one on a Monday. On Wednesday morning, I woke up to one of those little things over the top of my post and a note from Facebook. Your article has been flagged as fake news, whatever. I go, wait a minute. I shared an article from CNBC talking about a report from the World Health Organization. Are you seeing all the alphabet soup of respectability that's lining up on this? The World Health Organization saying a huge part of our entire original theory of asymptomatic spread isn't as big a deal as we previously thought, is within 48 hours by an independent group of fact checkers hired by Facebook. Yeah, I'm sure they're real independent. Has flagged and put the gray screen over my post for being fake news. Now, do you think these same people called CNBC and said, hey, you guys are publishing fake news articles? No. Similar question. Do I think that these independent fact checkers are going to the WHO and saying, hey, you guys are saying fake news about your own opinions about stuff within 48 hours of each other. No. So, the point with that is that when somebody says the science, they're not trying to have a reasonable conversation with you. They're trying to beat you over the head with dogma until you just see it their way because they're a better person than you. That's it.
Well,
that's what it's fundamentally
if they also
about.
knew anything about science, that science has been around since man has been thinking and communicating, and there's only seven laws in science that nobody refutes, and I'm not going to go into what they are, but then everything else is theoretical. Like, you can have any hypothesis you want, and there will be studies that totally back up your case, and there will be studies that totally disprove your case. And they'll go back and forth. So to say that science is the end-all, be-all...
again, this monolithic thing that's unchanging.
The science changes all the fucking time.
That's the point of science.
And then when they change it, they go, hey, we got that wrong. We're doing this now. This is where we're going. Yeah. And then until they find out why that's wrong, and then they go in a different direction.
But you can't highlight that in this instance.
No.
Because then that makes you a conspiracy theorist.
Your Honor, I object. And why is that, Mr. Reed? Because it's devastating to my case. Overruled. Good call.
I do know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows that one. So again, this idea of the science, which, like they say, says have out-lobbied public health science and concerns for collective death. We got to put that one towards the end. Let's go back up just one sentence to powerful lobbies in business and economic pressures. Holy shit! You talk about a wide net. Okay. Powerful lobbies. Yeah, big corporations can lobby government for favors. Oh, kind of like pharmaceutical industries who might have an interest in producing a vaccine, which they can get protection on to be the only ones to produce and sell that vaccine as long as the government gets on board with them and hands them the patent. Yeah. Those interests are the exact same as, little bunny foo-foo on the corner that has stripped and saved her entire life just so she can open a salon or a nail store or some other little, shop in your community, has scrimped and saved her whole life so that she can have a little slice of freedom in an unfree world to be her own boss and to serve people, give them what they want, and voluntarily get paid for it. So she can live and not have to, go to a 9-to-5 or whatever the case may be. Literally something that's not just, oh, well, she's got a business and she makes money off of it. No, it's like something that genuinely makes her happy. You don't think it matters to her about losing that? It's not just about losing a paycheck. It's about, oh man, the thing that I saved for my whole life is now gone. I guess I got to go back to a soul-sucking 9-to-5 for the next 50 years.
The whole lifestyle.
If that's not the epitome of lack of compassion, to not care about that person or dismiss them as having economic interests. They value $1 more than a life. Give me a break. That is a level of hubris and arrogance, again, that is just on a whole nother level that I can't even fathom.
Okay, so let's go to the numbers, and let's say, if you get corona, and I'll be very generous with the numbers on the mortality, you have a 98% chance of survival. Now, if you starve to death, you've got a 0% chance of survival. These are facts. This is how this goes. So,
and again, somebody who favors these policies, who would create that kind of situation, will go, yeah, but Dane, yeah, but David, I'm also for social programs. So I, want the government to print more money so that they can, hand out to these people who are out of job. I don't want to just leave them to die in the streets. I understand my policies may have these bad outcomes, but I still want to take care of these people. Okay, but you realize that at the point you have to rationalize your way into justifying that, you're now outside of coronavirus land. This is no longer about, is an infectious disease traveling at X rate and has X number of death rate. You're extrapolating outside of that point to say, I want these policies. And based on those policies, we need these other policies in terms of welfare or assistance. And in terms of those policies, we need these other policies, which is more taxes. And in terms of those, like, you're asking us to agree to this entire causal chain based on things that are constantly shifting, all the stuff we just talked about, coronavirus earlier. And that you don't think for 1 second that maybe somewhere in that whole causal chain, which like 10% is related to the virus, somebody might go, you know what, I don't agree because I think this policy might take more lives or have more impact or hurt more people than this policy. No, they're just not with the science, or they value dollars over lives, or they want to, sacrifice grandma for a haircut. Like, you see how condescending and utterly unproductive that is to caricature the other side.
It automatically demonizes you, and that's the first thing that you do in warfare, is you dehumanize the other side. Why are we at war with each other with our verbiage? Like, why, if you don't do exactly what I tell you to, which is, can we get to that fucking problem with that too? If you don't do exactly or live your life exactly how I want you to, you are a murderer because you're going to go off and hurt somebody else, unintentionally as it may be.
It's that same, like Thomas Sowell had a quote, why is it greed for me to want to keep every dollar that I earn, but it's not greedy for you to feel entitled to a dollar that you didn't earn for me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is one of those so clearly and obviously greed in the society? I don't agree with it, but to say that you want to keep your own money, that makes you greedy, allegedly. But if you want to be the one to take from somebody else, even if you don't want to keep it for yourself, but you want to spend it on all the pet projects that you value, that's not greed, even though you didn't put any effort into earning that dollar, right? So that's kind of what you're getting to there about,
right.
This side bad, we have the moral high ground, that kind of stuff. And, just to put a little bow on that one, I just, again, casting the net way too wide, going from lobbies all the way down to just abstract economic pressures, powerful lobbies and business and economic pressures. Yeah, it's a lot of people under a lot of economic pressures because the government has arbitrarily defined them as non-essential. On what criteria can you make such a determination about individuals other than arbitrariness? So, yeah, that's completely ridiculous. And the last line that I obviously wanted to say for last two was, after they get to the public health science and concerns for collective death. Let's think about that concept for just a second. If somebody dies for any reason, what does that do to another person? Their immediate family, it gives them grief, that kind of stuff. Yes, the normal process of emotion. What I'm saying, does it kill another person for one person to die? Is there a such thing as collective death? Let's even take a mass killing event. Let's take the empire's dropping of nuclear bombs on civilian centers in Nagasaki and Hiroshima to end World War II. So you would say that that's a mass event of collective death, right? No, or hundreds of thousands of people died, right? No. Hundreds of thousands of individual people died from the same cause. The deaths were linked by the event that caused them. The deaths were not, like, this death did not cause that death. So the idea that death is somehow collective is absurd. I mean, I get that they're trying to tangentially connect it and say, well, it's collective death because, a virus spreads from person to person, and the person who spreads it can die, and the person that they spread it to can die, and so that's a collective death. Those are still two individual deaths. So to say that you don't care about life because the collective death is going to be greater again, I circle back to what we said at the beginning of this podcast. Hundreds of thousands of people in the United States could die from what's caused deaths of despair. It's like intentional harm deaths, like suicide, overdose, things like that. Those are called deaths of despair. Could greatly exceed coronavirus, and we won't know that until however long this self-imposed economic crash, how long that's going to carry out for. What are going to be the broad-reaching effects of that? And in terms of the global scale, disrupting the supply chain so greatly and for so long, how many people are falling into absolute poverty around the world, a lot of people are going to die from that. So, I mean, if coronavirus deaths are collective death, that's got to be, to a large extent, corona deaths can't be helped, right? Because it's a natural cause. You can limit the exposure, but it's a natural cause. You can prevent deaths from arbitrarily and artificially impose economic collapse. You don't do the stuff that does the collapsing. So, again, I would never concede the moral high horse because, or the moral high ground, because of course they're going to claim it for themselves, because when they're met with countervailing points and facts, it's going to be, well, I'm going to retreat to my moral high ground, just shout, you value dollars over lives, and then I don't have to engage with you anymore. Because you're already an evil person, right? You haven't obtained the moral high ground I have. So you're not even worth talking to. Like, who cares about talking to the evil person? Like, nothing they say is valid.
Well, it's more or less that you're just scared. Again, as fucked up as it is to say, the people that are scared of this...
Kids, earmuffs.
The people that are scared of this are scared for a completely selfish reason. It's self-preservation. They want you to follow it because they think that they can get it, and they want to hold you responsible and try to make you responsible for their health, which is very indicative of where our society is now. Like, nobody ever wants to blame themselves for their conditions, like, i.e. being overweight or unhealthy or smoking and getting lung cancer. Well, why didn't somebody tell me cigarettes were bad for me?
Oh, you mean all the other categories that kill way more people? Yeah.
And then sugar is obviously killing us, but we just keep batting an eye and watching Pepsi Cola commercials with Britney Spears. With Britney Spears wagging her formerly pristine all over the place.
Next.
I want to talk about. Was it Christina or was it Britney?
No, we don't.
Anyway, but getting back to the point is that it's a very self-serving thing, and it makes them, again, it's kind of like virtue signaling too, but they're telling you that you're going to kill someone else that comes in contact with you. Well,
they're saying that your policies, if you got what you wanted,
right? If I get to do what I want,
would kill a bunch of people.
If I just wanted to live my life how I wanted to live it.
They're saying if your policies got adopted, like theirs got adopted,
right?
Almost down the line,
right?
If yours got adopted of no shutdown, let people take their own precautions. Right. If they want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If they want to stay home, stay home. Again, for the left, all your social safety programs would still be there. It's not like if we allowed people to go to work, that welfare would all of a sudden, or unemployment would all of a sudden disappear. Like, you would still have access to that. So if somebody wants to say, well, listen, I understand I'm going to lose my job, but I'm in a high risk, population, I'm going to stay home until, herd immunity builds up or they find a cure, whatever. Like, people can still make those individual decisions that you're saying they should. And last time I checked, if I'm called into work for being essential, that's not affecting anybody that doesn't leave their own home. My decisions don't affect somebody else.
They have to come in contact with you.
Yeah. So if they're out coming in contact, then they've decided to take the risk.
Fair. And
everybody
have
makes their own decisions on risk.
That was my point. That's all I was trying to say. My point was that they're responsible too.
It's kind of a non-starter, but it's just odd. It's not odd. I understand why it happens, but this whole fall in line, citizen, do as we say, citizen, don't
question authority.
You're evil, you're bad if you even think, outside the box by 2 inches.
Do we have
that's not helpful. So, no, that was it. Well, at the end they just say stay safe, but
no, I want to stay dangerous. We used to always my middle name is Danger. Is it?
Yeah.
No, we used to always kind of view ourselves as more cowboys, throw yourself into the fire and be tested. But now we're lock your doors. There's a sickness. Why are you pointing?
Don't you dare let somebody shut you down with these types of glib, facile,
logically
just
phallic. I couldn't come up with a logical fallacy. These logical fallacies, but I like my phallic. These phallic logics.
I'm not at all surprised that's where your brain went with it.
These placidly phallic logics that they keep coming at you with.
They're not entitled to that moral high ground because they claim it. Think critically about the things they're saying. Again, you might agree with them 100%. Good. Jump in the comment section on WMDpodcast.com/4. Go down in the comments, tell us why we're wrong, why we're stupid. We would like to disagree with you. But be cordial about it.
Civility is appreciated, but often not followed.
Yes. So yeah, that's where we stand on it. We don't think money's more important than lives, or that we're not with the science or anything else like that.
I love science.
We think that in a free country, free people should freely be able to make decisions, absent coercion of any respect, as long as they're not hurting somebody.
Say free one more time.
Free.
Free.
And that human beings will make the decisions to limit the amount of death because it's not in their best interest for people to be dying.
You don't want people to die.
Now, again, that's a counter to fact, theory that I'm saying, but that's no more counter to fact theory than somebody who goes, you know what? We only had 100,000 deaths, and we can say definitively that it's because we had the shutdown.
God
no,
damn.
You can't make that claim because you don't know. You don't know. Like, we're finding out with the antibody studies. You don't know how prevalent this was in society before you started your policies. And if it was way more prevalent, nobody was dying. Maybe you didn't have the non-flatten the curve overrun of the hospitals for that reason and not because of your shutdown reasons. So again, both sides are going to engage in theory and conjecture. One side wants to rule your life to get its policy prescriptions. The other side is saying, you're an adult. You can be given objective information like this kills people at this age and yada yada. You can be given that objective information and you can make decisions about your life. Might say it's risky, but it's the only one that's consistent with the principles, allegedly, that this country is supposed to be founded on. So,
or option B, you can just keep screaming at people to stay indoors or else grandma will die. And I just hope you don't break your arm jerking yourself off for flattening the curve.
You're being very helpful, Karen. So yes, WMDpodcast.com/4. Check us out there. Check us out on all your podcast apps. Share it with your friends. Most importantly, tell us why we're stupid.
And you guys stay safe out there in these crazy, crazy times.